Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Cookiecast. Today on Cookiecast, it's the Darkest Timeline podcast, so you got me for the day. There'll be games, there'll be movies, there'll be possibly some talk about going to the gym, and I imagine something that's happened in the last week. So here we go. This is Cookiecast, the Darkest Timeline podcast. Right, okay, well, I've been sitting here for like 10 minutes waiting for the plinky noise, and the plinky noise hasn't happened, so I think we all know what that means. It's going to happen any second. Anyway, let's crack on and we'll see. Hello, it is I, Cookie. It's Cookiecast, Darkest Timeline podcast. I'm sure you know that by now. It's a wonderful Monday night, as always. Makes little to no difference. I am currently drinking a energy drink. I have to refer to these as small energy drinks now, because I now have access to large energy drinks. This is a small one. I'm halfway through. Just 1 second. 3/4 of the way through. Yes, in case you're wondering, it's been that kind of day. Right. Let's not dilly and or dally. Without even looking at the list, I know what the first subject is. Oh my god, I'll tell you what the first subject should be. Today I updated my phone to the latest version of the software. Why companies, I'm not going to say which company, why certain companies feel that the best thing to do when you have to update these things is to change everything, to move things around, add stuff you didn't ask for, and so on, is beyond me. Obviously, you know, they're all improvements that just happen to seem to make everything worse. Okay, so last Tuesday, it was International Coffee Day. So, that's one of those. Everybody loves a nice cup of coffee. It was International Coffee Day. To celebrate, Costa were giving away free coffee from Costa coffee machines. So if there was a place that you knew that had a Costa machine, you could go, get a coffee, and it wouldn't charge you. Was the way it worked. They were like, we know that people love coffee, it's National Coffee Day, but people think that machine coffee is horrible, so they don't use it as much. And to prove that it's not the case, we are going to give away free coffee from our machines, and then you can see that machine coffee isn't bad coffee. Amazing concept. Everybody was talking about it. It was everywhere, all over social media. Places that had the machines had signs outside. Everyone's like, get lined up, because that was the other thing. They were like, expect queues. Everybody wants something for free, sort of thing. So, on the day, I had some errands to run. One of those errands might have taken me nowhere near somewhere that had a Costa coffee machine, but I managed to make a detour and went and got the free coffee. In case you're wondering, and I'm going to tell you that I'm going to give you a spoiler early on, people. The moral of this story is nothing in life is free. So, I mean, there's so many aspects to this story that I'm like, how much of this story do I need to tell? Went to do all my jobs. I was doing my jobs. I was out. I was like, well, you know, I am out, so maybe I can go and get a coffee. Went to somewhere that I knew had one of the machines. So instantly I'm feeling guilty because I'm like, I'm going to get something for free. So I had to buy something from the shop I was in to feel like I was, giving something back, sort of thing. Then I was like, what's the deal with the free coffee? Do you have to do anything special? One's like, no, just press the buttons and it basically just doesn't charge you. It's like, oh, right, that's cool. She was like, yeah, but people have been in all day, and we're filling that machine right now, and we've got to fill that machine, and the other machine needs filling, and there was 2 of these machines, and apparently, free coffee, expect queues, so on and so forth. The people working in the shop that I visited didn't heed any of these warnings. And it was a massive inconvenience, as it would be, having to, do your job. Anyway, that's not what this is about. But yeah, I was a bit like, are you surprised that people are coming for free coffee? So I was like, alright, cool, I'll go and get in the small queue. So free stuff brings out interest in people. I think I'll just leave that one there. Like I say, there are elements of this story that I could tell, but I think I'll just keep it to the bare bones. Waited in line, got to the front. The one's like, when you finish with that machine, I need to do things to it, like fill it with beans and do this, that, and the other. And all I could think was, I'm not overly interested what you need to do after I've used the machine. I don't know why you're telling me, but again, whatever, that's not what the story's about. So I'm like, right, what do I want? So I'm like, I'm going to treat myself, I'm going to push the boat out, and I'm going to get a latte, which I don't get these days. I get an Americano, but when you're in a situation, sometimes you just go to ground, so to speak. So got a latte, threw some caramel in it. The machine poured the coffee. Took a long time. Obviously it's preparing the coffee fresh, so that it gives you a nice cup of coffee. Realised that I'd got a big one, and there was no lids. The guy on the machine next to me said to the woman who was flittering around, there's no lids. Oh, I'll go and get some. So she disappeared. So I got my cup of coffee and then moved away from the machine so other people could use them, but was waiting for a lid. Lady came back. She'd had a bit of, I don't know what you'd call it, a bit of backwards and forwards with the guy who'd said about the lids already. So I think she made a point by coming and giving me the first lid. As she handed it to me, I was like, oh, that lid looks like it's got a little bit of a crack in it. But I was like, a little crack's fine. Put the lid on the coffee. Went to put the coffee in the coffee holder, the cup holder thing, on the pushchair, and coffee everywhere. Coffee on me. Coffee, it was raining that day. Coffee on the rain cover, the cup holder, the handle, all down the side of the pushchair. Anywhere that liquid could travel to in a 10-yard vicinity, there was coffee. I'm like, what has just happened? Closer examination of the broken lid led to me finding that it was a lot more broken than I initially thought. Would have never stayed on the cup, as was proven by the fact that it didn't. I'm like, great. So I'm just like, I'm out of it. I imagine the pushchair's got a few tissues in. I looked around where I was, see if I could find any like napkins or anything. No joy, so I was like, I'm off. Left the place, found a tissue, cleaned up enough to be able to sort of walk out in public kind of thing. So, heading home. Got so far, I was like, I'm going to have to try and negotiate this cup. I had a sip of the coffee, took the lid off, had a sip. I was like, okay. Got a bit further, took the lid off. The cup's all like covered in milk and foam and coffee, and it's a bit sticky or whatever. So I had a couple of drinks of the coffee getting back. When I got back, I poured the coffee into a normal cup, and for one reason or another ended up leaving it, so the coffee had ended up going cold. Drank some, poured the rest away. But when I got back, because the cup was like a paper cup, it was all sticky and stuff. My hand was like red by the time I got back. It had taken like the dye out of the cardboard and all this. And the only thing I could think when I got home was, it's true what they say. Nothing in life is free. Because of all those little, first world problem inconveniences. I'm like, I've paid for this cup of coffee. Like I say, this is a small chunk of this story. There was a lot more to this story where I could demonstrate how much I'd end up paying for this. But we'd be here all night, and I'm just giving you the bare bones. The other side note to this, or a main point, or whatever, Costa set out to prove that machine coffee is not bad coffee. It's nice coffee. The theory being is that nowadays the machine grinds the beans, so you're still getting the same beans as you would if you got it from a barista. A barista's a legal person. A barista. The milk is fresh milk. It's not powdered. It's got, the machine's got milk in. It provides the same milk, the same syrups, the same way that it would if somebody made that cup of coffee. One small problem. Of your three big coffee companies, which I would consider to be Costa, Starbucks and Nero's, Costa, in my opinion, is way down the list. Now, the worst part of this is I drink a lot of Costa purely because of convenience more than anything. For example, today I wanted nothing more than to go and get a Nero's. Ended up getting a Costa. Reason being, because Costa's got a drive-through, it meant I didn't have to get out of the car in a situation where dealing with a child that I've just put in a car that I didn't want to have to get back out, all this, I ended up getting a Costa instead of a Nero's. I drink a lot of Costa when I'm drinking a lot of coffee. As I've said previously, I have cut down, or had cut down, crept up, back up a little bit. So Costa is way down on my list of coffees. To say that, Starbucks, I'm not a massive fan of them as a company. Their coffee is definitely middle of the road. It's okay. It's nothing to write home about. And I think that's because I'm spoiled by the fact that Nero's coffee is so good. Oh yeah, by the way, remember last week when I said my body was fighting the illness? Ended up not going to the gym that night because I felt really ill. Obviously by the next day, felt fine. There's been an entire weekend of sickness in this house. Everybody had a cold. Now, back to Monday, and I'm now feeling the nosy, the throaty going on. So who knows what's going on at this point in time. Sorry. So, you've got the added element of the fact that Costa is not anywhere by far the best. And the whole thing that they tried to prove with the machine coffee's good, it isn't. That cup of coffee I got, that I had an absolute nightmare with, that I had to go out of my way to get, yeah, it was free. Oh, get it. It wasn't a nice cup of coffee. It wasn't nice. It came out of a machine, which meant that it wasn't very nice, and it was a Costa. It wasn't a nice cup of coffee. When it went cold and I couldn't drink it anymore, I was happy to pour it away. I've lost nothing here. It didn't cost me money. What I will say is, I have used those machines before, And I have got a reasonable, albeit Costa cup of coffee out of them. I don't know whether it was a cleaning issue. I don't know whether they, because of the high volume of usage that day, it wasn't producing the best cup of coffee that machine could produce. I don't know. What I'm saying is, that cup of coffee was not nice. It was horrible. So ultimately, yeah, whether it was free or not, it wasn't good. It wasn't a good experience. That was just something that I was going to share with you lovely people. Free coffee gone. Last week I was talking about the fact that the podcast had its first dislike. One of those things. I went through the whole thing last week, so I'm not going to rehash it. I keep a reasonable eye on the podcast as a whole, keep an eye on the YouTube channel, keep an eye on the social media, the Twitter, Instagram, check the emails fairly regularly and stuff, respond where responses are required, and so on. And one of the things I check is the audio analytics and I check the YouTube stuff. Like I said, podcast had its first dislike. That was something that I was inevitably going to have to deal with. I was like, okay, so it's happened. No comment with it or anything like that, but it had happened. Don't think it was the next day. I think it was Tuesday. It might have been Wednesday. I had a little look, checking all my numbers, checking all my analytics, and found that the dislike had disappeared. Don't know what's happened. Don't know if the person who had put that they disliked what I'd said had thought about it and gone back and removed that dislike. It didn't change to a like. It just went to a no. It had just gone. So yeah, now I'm like, oh well, I don't know what's happened there. Obviously, I made some kind of a deal. I don't feel I made a big deal of it last time, and now that's no longer a thing. So there we go. The dislike has disappeared. Let's talk some turkey. If you don't like American football and you don't like computer games, you might want to turn the podcast off now. I've got the usual bits and bobs, but we are heavy on. Has that only come out last week? What have I put down to talk about that again? Okay, so don't know if I mentioned this, but yeah. So if you're not into the NFL and you're not into computer games, maybe it might be time to fast forward. Might have mentioned last time that I was watching All or Nothing, and it's the All or Nothing series, the Dallas Cowboys, which I believe was the 2017 series. Some of you might be like, why aren't you saving this for a NFL podcast? I think I covered some on the NFL podcast in the week that's just gone, but not loads. And as it is, this is my forum for, this is kind of what I'm up to and what I've done in the last week. I finished, I think it was today. It takes me a long time to get through stuff these days. So I finished, let's say it was today, the series. So it was All or Nothing with the Dallas Cowboys. What I've said about these series is when you're watching them, like, watching a series from 2017, you know how it finishes. Spoilers. The Cowboys didn't win the Super Bowl that year. You get invested. I think when I watched the Cardinals one, I got really into that one, and I felt really sorry for the Cardinals because they had a really good season that year. Not so good since. The Rams one, that was a really weird one to watch because like the series was kind of over halfway through. The Rams just didn't do anything. Bearing in mind, last year the Rams went to the Super Bowl. But it was a good series to watch. Definitely a low for a team sort of thing. Obviously, they've rebuilt since then to the point that they can go to the Super Bowl. Dallas Cowboys Series 3. I enjoyed it. It was really enjoyable. It was good to see certain aspects like the training facility that the Cowboys have got. Obviously, I imagine Jerry Jones is worth a lot of money. And I imagine, well, it's evident that he invests that money in the team and the brand. The Dallas Cowboys are America's team, as they keep sort of saying. There were some really good players. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott is a great running back. He was suspended for 6 games of that season, and it really hit them. They've got some great defensive players who they lost. Sean Lee was out of action with an injury. They just kept taking hits on the team. And I feel it's one of those. I feel that season, if everybody had been there and everything had been perfect, they would have definitely been contenders because they were really strong when they had the whole team. Some of the things that I found interesting, obviously, anybody that knows about this stuff, Jason Garrett is the head coach for the Dallas Cowboys. He was a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys years ago. I think he was Troy Aikman's backup. Played a few games for the Cowboys. He is now the head coach. Has been for 7 seasons or something, or was at that point. So now it'll be 9 seasons, whatever. Various sort of things going on. There's like. That was back when Des Bryant was on the team. He is bonkers. He doesn't play NFL football at this point in time. I wonder whether he might appear in one of these other leagues that's coming up, or he might find himself in the CFL, the Canadian Football League. Who knows? I believe at this point in time he isn't playing. It was a really good series. I really enjoyed it. It was good to watch a team that I'm not a massive Cowboys fan. I'm just looking at a series of helmets that I've got dotted around, and as far as I can say, I don't have a Dallas Cowboys helmet. I don't have a massive, I don't have anything against the Dallas Cowboys. It was an enjoyable series to watch. There was a little bit too much rah-rah for me. The platitudes, Jesus. Oh, it was enough to make you sick. It was just non-stop. I don't really know how to describe it. I mean, I know Americans are a particular way, and American sports teams are probably even more of a particular way. It's one thing to say, I love you guys, you guys are my team. But yeah, just platitude after platitude after platitude, just non-stop in these team meetings, and they have like the big team meeting, and then they break down into like their groups. So the running backs go into the running backs room, and the quarterbacks go to the quarterbacks room, and the wide receivers go to, and then it just continues, just more of these platitudes about how, your time is now, and all I could think was, man, if I was in one of those rooms as one of those players, I'd be bored out of my mind. I can't imagine that those speeches are that motivational. I imagine somebody like Ezekiel Elliott isn't a great running back because they had to sit and listen to somebody go on and on and on about how, your time is now, and or as Bill Burr would say, living his best life or whatever. So yeah, a little bit too much rah-rah for me. Take all that out of it. And it was really good. It was really enjoyable. If anybody needs an insight into, behind, it's kind of like behind the scenes of an American football game in a sense. And there's a lot of American football in it. They show you how the team does in the games and what was going on behind the scenes. Which player was injured, which caused X, Y, or whatever. Pardon me. It was very enjoyable. I really enjoyed watching it. It's on Amazon Prime, so if you've got Prime, it's there. It's free to watch. However, because I finished it, it started playing the next series, and I had a sneaking suspicion what the next series was, and more importantly, which team the next series was with. And it started, and I was like, yeah. So, the next series is with the Carolina Panthers. A team that at points in time, especially when they were, going to the Super Bowl and stuff, I was quite fond of. I think they were on for a 16-0 season that season. They looked amazing. But there's always been this thing about the Panthers for the last X number of years. I think they said on the episode I was watching since 2011, when they drafted their current quarterback. There are some people in some sports that do my treeing. One of them in particular is Cam Newton, who is the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, although not currently, as he is injured with a mysterious injury. I think that mysterious injury is called can't win a game to save his life. So he's got a mysterious injury, as the NFL like to give people every now and then. So yeah, mysterious injury. He is not playing at the moment because the Panthers were losing a lot. Funnily enough, in the 4 games that he hasn't played this season, Panthers have won all 4 games. Christian McCaffrey looks absolutely amazing. So yeah, this episode started, and it started with Cam, and he drives me up the wall. I hate the flamboyant style, the ridiculous suits, the ridiculous hats, the ridiculous glasses, the ridiculous scarves. You look like a tit, mate. That is the shortest version on that one. You look ridiculous. And, they talk about how his attitude is great for the team, and it's infectious, and it's this, that, and the other. And I would agree, the quarterback's like the captain of the ship, and they have to drive it, and I'm all for that. But I could just do without the rest. So I watched 10 minutes of the first episode of All or Nothing, the Carolina Panthers, which I believe is Series 4. And then I turned it off. And I think you and I both know I'm probably not going back to that series. Again, it's one of those. I know the outcome. I know they didn't go to the Super Bowl. I know they didn't win the Super Bowl because they didn't go to the Super Bowl. And I honestly believe that the biggest issue the Carolina Panthers have at this point in time is Cam Newton. There's a thing about going to the Super Bowl that some players don't do well post-Super Bowl. Cough, cough, Colin Kaepernick. Cam Newton is one of them. He is the problem. He's categorically the problem with that team at the moment. Well, like I say, not at the moment because he's not playing and they are winning. So, So that was All or Nothing. Which, like I say, I finished the Cowboys. The next one's the Panthers. Not really interested, I don't think. I mean, again, it's one of those. I'd like to watch the team, but there will just be too much Cam for me. The one after that, which I think is current, or is it? Anyway, whatever, is the Raiders, another team that I have no interest in watching. So I imagine at this point I probably won't watch any of these two series, and then we'll see who they follow next time. So that's all or nothing. I was looking for something to watch. So there was a thing on Netflix that I'd seen a trailer for, which I was mildly interested in, which is one of those that at this point in time, Raising Dion. So one of these superhero things. A kid is a superhero, has got superpowers. Watched 10 minutes of that. It looked quite good. I was like, cool. Something I have managed to watch in the last week, I think, is Bill Burr's latest stand-up special, Paper Tiger. Obviously, this is the last tour that I saw him on. It was recorded in London at the Royal Albert Hall, so that's a big thing. Taken me way too long to sit down and watch that special. I was disgusted with myself. I'd heard a lot of reviews. I'd seen a lot of reviews of other comedians saying that it was a great special and it was his best. And I was like, oh, he's had some good ones. Admittedly, he's also had some that I think the last special, yeah, it might have been the last one. Again, on a tour I saw him on, I don't think that one was all that good. Whereas the one before was very good. Sat down, finally watched Bill Burr's latest stand-up special, Paper Tiger. It is fantastic. And the review of it is potentially his best is nailed on. I love this time. This time for stand-up is awesome. We get a special, once a year, once every couple of years, depending which comedian you're into. I generally have a steady flow of specials. Joe Rogan's been quite prolific. I've thoroughly enjoyed the Bert Kreischers, Tom Segura, obviously. There's Bill Burr, and then there's the odd person that you pick up. Anthony Jeselnik, Christina P, people that I've enjoyed more recently. It's a great time for stand-up. It really is. I think stand-up comedians would agree that this is the best time they've ever had it. So, yes. So, I was watching... I was flitting through this thing, so I watched like 10 minutes of All or Nothing. Then I watched like 10 minutes of that Raising Dion. Looked okay. I might go back to that. Probably go back to that. But very much like Batman, it wasn't the TV programme I needed at that point in time. So, I watched something else. So I have this thing. If I start a series, I kind of want to finish it, unless there's a reason. And what I mean by that is, like Breaking Bad. I watched the first 2 series of Breaking Bad, and then I didn't watch the other 3 series for ages, and then I binged it. Whereas Walking Dead, Dexter, House, those are all series that I watched so far, and then for whatever reason, never went back to them. I watched the first 2 series of Preacher. So, episode 1 of Preacher, great. The last episode of series 1 of Preacher, great. Everything in between, not worth bothering with. You could watch the first episode and the last episode and get absolutely everything you needed from that series. So that was that. Not a great time. to watch that series. Second series came along. I was like, well, first series is always a muddy place for a TV series. So let's give series 2 a whirl. Watch series 2. It was awful. Problem I've got is, being such a big Preacher fan, I'm like, well, there's more series. A couple of people I know have seen it and they're like, oh, this series is quite good and they're doing this and they're doing that. And I'm like, oh man, that's in the books and that was good. And, my biggest issue with Preacher is it has simultaneously some of the best and worst casting. And some of it I just can't get over. The woman that plays Tulip is awful. So bad. And it makes me really dislike the whole process. Whereas the guy who plays Cassidy is fantastic. Anyway, I put series 3 of Preacher on. I watched the first episode, which was okay, and I'm partway through the second episode. So I think for now I'll stick with that and just see what's going on in that story. Because like I say, I do like to finish a series, even if it's tough going at times. I know like The Walking Dead started series 11, or is starting series 11. I imagine that's tough going by now. So yeah, that's TV. I have a little bit of a confession at this point. The only film I've been watching, I haven't finished. And I don't like to review something until I've finished it. For one reason or another, I haven't finished this film. Mostly because I haven't been to the gym as much as I would have liked to have done. Because obviously, like I was saying, I didn't go last Monday because I wasn't feeling very well. Tuesday is podcast day. But then Wednesday was podcast day as well. I had to do all my coding on the Thursday. So, but I still managed to get to the gym. So I did watch a bit of the film. Friday, got to the gym, watched a bit of the film. No gym Saturday. So I haven't managed to finish the movie, and I don't want to review it until I've finished it, because I like to believe that a film can make or break at any point. Take Lucy, for example, a film that started out okay and then just got progressively worse as it went on. So I'm a bit like, I want to say, I've been watching this film and give you a review, but who knows, I might give you a bad review and then come back next week and be like, I'll finish that film and actually it was alright by the end of it. I am watching a film, I don't want to review it just yet, so let's move on, shall we? Let's talk some games. I've written a game on this list. Why have I... So I'm sure last week I talked about Vader Immortal Episode 2. I know I did. But I've written it down again and I remember... This is the worst thing about having a really bad memory. I remember writing it down again. I remember thinking, I really must talk about this, so I'm putting it back on the list to talk about it again. At this point in time, I have no idea why that is. But we'll come to that in a minute. I might have an idea, actually. So, I've got 3 games on the list. 3 games I've been playing. Number 1. Borderlands 3. I mean, yeah. Let's get into it, shall we? By now, I imagine you've got the idea that I don't like Borderlands 3. That's not true. It's hard. It's really hard to describe. Sometimes you play a game, and then they announce a sequel. And you're like, man, I loved the first one or the second one or whatever. Oh man, yeah, what's it going to be like? The Batman, the Arkham games, they were exactly what people wanted, in my opinion. So the first one was in Arkham Asylum, because it was, Batman Arkham Asylum. And you went around the halls and you went through the ducts, the air ducts, and you did all that. And it was quite enclosed and quite confined. But it was a fantastic game. I don't think anybody is going to disagree that game was a fantastic game. So when they did the second one, Arkham City, they took you out of the asylum and put you in Gotham. So it was much bigger. You had all these places to go. You had all this different traversal. You could glide around. You could do all this. They gave you new weapons. I imagine there was a new suit, and so on. Then there was the Batman game that nobody talks about because it wasn't made by, let's say, Rocksteady. And I'm honestly not sure I can remember what that one was called. I could look it up, but I'm trying not to do that these days. And then we had Batman Arkham Knight. In a lot of ways, probably the best one. You're still out in the city, but now you've got the Batmobile, and you drive the Batmobile, and the Batmobile's obviously, nowadays the Batmobile is nothing short of a tank. And that was super cool, and you had all these things to do, and just each game was a little bit bigger, a little bit more of an advancement, and just better in all ways. That's kind of what you want. Obviously, I've talked a lot recently about the Watch Dogs franchise. First Watch Dogs, I thoroughly enjoyed. Personally, for me, that game was fantastic. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The second one I felt was a hot mess because they'd not followed the Arkham rule. Give us a little bit more. Just make everything better. They didn't do that. They changed everything, and in my opinion, made it worse. They gave us these. What's the word? The characters were. I can't think of the word. I'm trying to think of another example. Oh, Metro. I'm looking at a Metro game from here. Metro. So, the first couple of Metro games was really confined. It was in the tunnels. Gave you everything you wanted from that style of game. The latest game made it open world. The whole point of the Metro game is you're on an underground metro system. So now we're outside running around, and that was a game that I never finished. I just traded it in going, I don't think I want to play this anymore. These are good examples. The Far Cry series, Far Cry, all the way back when, Far Cry was what it was, advancements, all the way up to Far Cry 3, which was simultaneously the swan song and death of the franchise, because 4, 5, and any other garbage that's been since has been just that. Far Cry 5 is a true insult to gaming. So, Borderlands 3. What am I getting at? What I'm getting at is that Borderlands 3 is Borderlands 1 and 2. But that's it. It's Borderlands 1 and 2. Borderlands was Borderlands. Great game. Thoroughly enjoyable. Borderlands 2 was Borderlands. And is anybody surprised at the point where I go, Borderlands 3 is Borderlands 1 and 2? The fact that everybody reviewed that as, well, that's a great thing. I was baffled by this concept. I've played Borderlands 3. Typically, I've got to what I presume is the last boss and can beat the last boss, even though I have watched videos on YouTube on how to do it. Can't do it. I've tried about 50 times to do it. Can't do it. I'm shit at games is the short version. I am rubbish at games. I play all games on easy, and I'm still struggle with them. So it's me, but yeah, can't beat the last boss. That is not a reflection on the game. I'm not there going, oh, I can't beat the boss, so the game's rubbish. As you know from last week, I said I was playing it, and I was giving a very similar review then. It's, the game with a billion guns, and I've got the same handgun that I've had for half the game. Reason being, because every handgun I pick up is rubbish. So what's the point? I've got the same machine gun I've had for the last 10 hours of playtime, because every machine gun I pick up is rubbish. And so rinse and repeat. To me, a pointless exercise of having all those guns if they're all shit. There have been points in that game where I have just been plain old bored. Problem you've got when you give people the same thing over and over again is it doesn't take them long. It takes them less time each time to become bored. I had the issue playing Borderlands 1 and 2 again, that I found it very difficult to play those games again. I'm a person who has a rather extensive game collection because I like to play games again. Especially these days when they want 55, 60 quid for games. I better be getting my damn money's worth. I'm looking at games now and I'm like, that game cost me 40 quid, that game cost me 45 quid, that game cost me £50. And they're still there in my collection because I got my money's worth, because that game I've played twice, but that twice was 60 hours. That game there I've played 2 or 3 times and it was great and I loved every minute of it. That game there I've played multiple times because it's short, but that means you can play it a good few times. That game I've got because I bought it twice. I had it on a previous generation, I bought it on this generation. Borderlands 3 is fine. I'm not telling you it's a bad game. I'm telling you that it wouldn't have taken much to make it better. I'll give you an example. Do all the stuff with the guns where, this gun's better it's got better damage, but the accuracy is not as good and it doesn't have as much ammo. Do all of that with all the guns. Just don't let the gun drop below the level you are. So if you're level 10, you should only ever pick up level 10 or above guns. And each one of those guns should be better than what you're carrying in a particular way. You should have to go, oh man, do I want that? Do I want it? Is it better? Is it good? Literally, 98% of the stuff I pick up, I just sell it. And then I've got all this money, nothing to do with it, because all the guns that you want to buy or all the mods you want to buy are no good. Things like that is just strange. So they could have made that better. There have been points where I'm like, shooting this gun is boring. Think about that as a concept. I feel as a franchise that got reviewed as Borderlands 3 has changed absolutely nothing, and that's great. I'm like, why? Why don't I just go and play the first one if I want the same again? I'm very baffled. I feel like at times when something gets reviewed in a certain way, it convinces people of things. So somebody reads a review that says Borderlands 3 is just Borderlands all over again, and that's great. And they go, yeah, that is great. That's a really great thing. Whereas if they actually thought about it for a minute, they went, well, I want something different. I want something new. Give me the Arkham experience. Give me the same, just better in all ways. Is that not what we should be doing with like sequels and stuff? Anyway, I'm up to the final boss. I can't beat the final boss. I haven't been able to beat the final boss. I do like to finish things, so I will attempt to go back to it. But it had, by that point, annoyed me quite a bit. and I had considered trading it in the other day for the reason I'm about to talk about. So that's not the only game I played in the last week. The latest game I am currently playing. This is where anybody who's a fan of the podcast, anybody who listens closely to the things that I say, is going to go, huh? So I bought a game. That's not true. That's not even true. No, actually, no, it is true. I did buy a game. And it's a game that's come out recently. And it's a game that I might have played some betas of. And it's a game that I might have disliked those betas. And it's a game that right now you've probably guessed what it is. And it's a game that right now you're thinking, you really didn't like that, so why have you bought it? I am currently playing Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Not just a dramatic pause. It was a drink break. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. To some of you, no surprise, I'm playing Breakpoint. To others, a big surprise, I'm playing Breakpoint. Here we go. Let's get into it. I'm playing this game for a few reasons. One of those reasons is I'm a big fan of the series. A huge fan of the series. I've played every single one of them. So there's that. Yes, I played the betas. Yes, I thought they were awful. But I wanted to like this game. Wildlands, as you may know, is hands down one of my favourite games ever. I don't need to go through that. By now you know why that is. I wanted Breakpoint to be a good game. I wanted to love it the way I love Wildlands. And luckily, something happened in the last few days. So I ended up watching a couple of videos. That's not true. I ended up watching a video series by a guy on YouTube. Absolutely no idea of his name, so I'm not going to tell you his name. Very strange around how many subscribers he had versus how many people had watched his videos. But that's a whole other thing. So he was playing Ghost Recon Breakpoint as a true stealth game. Now, I've got time for stealth games. A mate of mine won't ever entertain a stealth game. Hates them with a passion. I've got a little bit of time for a stealth game when done right, for me. You know, when a game says, if you do this game stealthily, you're going to have a better time. However, if you don't, we're not going to penalise you too much. You know, instant fail stealth is one of the worst things you can put into a game. So, this guy was playing this game, was playing Breakpoint as a true stealth game. He was going into bases, making sure he wasn't being seen, only killing people that he absolutely had to, not getting into any firefights, hiding bodies, sneaking around. It completely changed my perspective on this game. I'm like, few things. The guy playing this has got a massive number of subscribers to his YouTube channel. He's terrible at playing games. I've no idea what it is, but he's not very good at playing games. And this is coming from me, who is terrible at playing games. However, interesting. So I'm playing back everything I know about Breakpoint. You play as Nomad, the character from the previous game. It's set a little bit in the future, so there are these like, you know, mechanical tanks, like robot tanks. Your drone is better equipped to do things, although that's yet to be seen. I'm not that far into it. Weapons are still weapons, vehicles are still vehicles. Although the really cool addition of electric motorbikes, because obviously it's in the future. So every now and then, a motorbike that you can get might be electric. Kind of cool. So I'm just going to have a little blast. Might be getting ill, did I mention? So, as a survival game, if you look at it through those eyes, you play as Nomad, you get shot down, your entire team is wiped out, barring a couple of like basically NPCs. The characters from the previous game, your squad from the previous game, one's been killed, one's missing, I think, and one's injured in a hospital bed. Interesting take on it. They've taken away your team, which I didn't realise until only recently, and I'm like, what the actual fuck? That is what Ghost Recon is. It's your team, you're a squad. So that was an element. So I started looking at it the way this guy was playing it. Stealth. And I was like, maybe this guy's got a point. He was doing really well. I played the betas and had done really badly. But he was doing really well, even though he wasn't very good. He was getting really far. He was doing the missions. This guy's got like 10 videos, ranging from like an hour to half an hour to whatever. I'm like, maybe I've got it wrong all this time. Maybe I've not been looking at it the way that this guy is. Maybe we're supposed to play these as stealth. We're supposed to play this game as a stealth game. That is a game changer. So there was that. When I went to buy it, because I'd got to a point where I was like, right, I've watched a few of these videos. Then I watched this other video that went on about everything that's wrong with it. So there is a lot wrong with it. Basically, Wildlands had 30 people work on it. This game's had over 1,000 people working on it. They've monetized this up the wazoo. Monetization doesn't really work on me. I'm a single player guy. I don't do multiplayer. I don't give a shit if you've got a better gun than me, because I'm never going to come in contact with you because I don't do multiplayer. I weave my way through the minefield of monetization in every game I play. And this one is so heavy on it. So, I'm like, okay, I don't care about the monetization. I watched this video that said every aspect of this game has been designed to try and get money out of you. My point is, I don't care about that. You're not having my money. I gave you money for the game. That is the most you're ever going to get from me. As a rule, I don't do DLC, and as anybody knows, one of the only DLCs I have ever bought was for Wildlands. I'm like, okay, if I can ignore the monetization and play this game as a stealth game, I might be interested. I'm interested enough to find out. So that was the thing that piqued my interest. I was like, I am interested enough to find out. And then the decision was kind of made. I was like, I think I need to get this game. So release day came along. I was struggling with Borderlands 3 in a lot of ways. Typically, that would just so happen to be the day that I got up to the boss that I couldn't kill. I'm like, I think it's time that we get Breakpoint. You know, certain things I'm happy to wait for. I'm certainly a lot better than I used to be. But this, I was like, I think it's a must. Went out. The shop I went to was out of stock, which I find to be a good thing. Obviously not when I'm trying to buy something, but there was another option, and I was able to get a copy, brought it back, installed it, and I've been playing it since. Not loads. It's busy in the house at times. Most of the time, if I'm honest. So here's a mini review. I'm not going to review this game in any way, shape, or form. I'm basically just going to say, here's what I've found so far. Playing it as a stealth game works. I have managed to progress through this game. Know your limits. So if it says this area is of this level and this level is higher than you, probably don't go there. Unless, you're in a helicopter and you can fly through that area or whatever. I've dipped my toe in a couple of areas where it says it's high level. On one of those occasions, I got spanked. On another one, I managed to navigate through it. So, swings and roundabouts, strikes and gutters. Playing it as a stealth game works. There's a couple of things with like equipping weapons and equipping like attachments for weapons that's getting a bit tedious. You have to attach weapons to every weapon you pick up, and this is a game where you're picking up weapons all the time, and I mean all the time. Every mission you do, every place you go to, every enemy you kill, a lot of them drop weapons. So it's getting a little tedious having to attach all the attachments and any of the mods and things. Skill tree is interesting. I've only unlocked one of the 4 skills so far. When I played the betas, I unlocked all of the skills, but there was all these like challenge elements around the skills that I didn't really like, because it meant that you didn't get any XP, so you couldn't unlock stuff. I think they've done away with that, because I've only unlocked one and my XP just keeps going up. I do like the XP progression. I seem to have been leveling up quite a bit. Some of the things that are not good about this game, the vehicles. I heard a lot of people reviewing the game going, oh, the vehicles are so much better than they were in Wildlands. Well, I really liked the way the vehicles handled in Wildlands. In Breakpoint, the vehicles are not good, and the controlling of them is worse than Wildlands, and the sound, the noise, the sounds around vehicles is terrible. It's a huge step backwards, which just baffles me beyond belief. How can you go backwards in a game that's further down the line? Other stuff that I don't like. I will say they've made big changes from the betas, which I imagine they had to sort of scramble. You don't always go back to the main base. It's sort of, when you load the game, it just loads you up where you last were, which is cool. Something that was super annoying to start with. I'm an inverted controls kind of guy. I invert my controls. To invert the controls for the helicopter and the drone, I had to Google it. And in the end, I had to invert the controls and then physically change the directions on the thumbsticks to get the correct setup. You should never have to do stuff like that. You should just say invert and it should be done. It got to the point I was like, am I going to have to learn how to control the helicopter in this way or the drone in this way? But a bit of Googling, a lot of complaints from the community, the inverted community, and a bit of trial and error, and I finally managed to get the controls the way I like them. Some of the characters are a bit two-dimensional. I mean, it's very heavy on we want to sell you stuff, we want you to fight with other people so that you can see that they've got a better gun than you. We want you to do raids, which can quite honestly just do one. PvP, don't care, all of that. But if you weave your way through the monetization, and if you play the game in a particular way, there is actually a Ghost Recon game hiding in there. So at this point in time, my review of Ghost Recon, having played for a few hours, is it's interesting. It's not good, it's not bad, it's interesting, and it's certainly interesting enough that it's making me want to play it, which is a huge jump from where the betas were. I will continue playing that game. I'll continue updating you until I don't play it anymore. So that's those couple of games. The other one, the one that I keep saying I don't know why it's on the list, is Vader Immortal Episode 2 on the Oculus Quest. I'm sure I went through all of the Vader Immortal 2 stuff, Episode 2 stuff, last week. I've written it on the thing again because I think what it is the lightsaber dojo. Although I think I spoke about that. Anyway, let's work on the principle I didn't talk about, and let's talk about the reason why I've written it down. On the VR, episode 2 of Vader Immortal. Story super short, as we know at this point in time, but enjoyable. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The lightsaber dojo is worth every penny of the £8 that I spent on that game. It's so much fun. I played it the other night for an hour, and I was dripping with sweat when I stopped playing. It's probably a good workout, to be honest. As I've said to anybody since I got that, play the campaign, play the story mission, play it and realise just how short it is and all that sort of stuff. But definitely the lightsaber dojo is where the action is in that game. So much fun. You know, everything that you want to do if you're playing as a Jedi, use force powers and throw lightsabers, it's all there, and it's so much fun. Super fun. Outside of that, played a bit of Beat Saber. Played some of the new. There was a free update, so there was some new songs. Played some of that. It's one of those games that I feel like I just haven't given the correct amount of time to. But as I keep saying, time is limited. So I want to get back into that. Still waiting on Arizona Sunshine. That was supposed to be out last month for the Quest. It isn't. But yeah, I think I spoke last time about the fact that the Quest has had this update where there's a lot of coming soon stuff. It seems to say there's quite a lot of stuff coming, so that's cool. So that's games. I didn't really talk movies, but we'll talk about that next time. The last thing, obviously, as we all know, is gym. So last week was one of those weeks where it was difficult to go to the gym. That doesn't mean that I didn't go. I did. I went... was that after my break? Was that when I was saying that I hadn't been going? Anyway, went back to the gym. Did some weights, did a little bit of running Thursday night. And that was that. Been having this sort of thing recently that I've been doing like a lot of arm weights, but not really feeling that next day ache or that 2-day ache or whatever. So I got to the point where I was like, I think I need to do other things, like do arms and do chest and back and all that sort of stuff. So Friday when I went to the gym, I did a monster run, which I was impressed with because I've been struggling with the running recently. And then before doing the monster run, I did chest workout, monster chest workout as well. Like a couple of times I went to failure rather than doing a specific number of sets, mostly because I couldn't lift the weights to the number of sets I wanted to. But yeah, did a monster chest workout and then did a monster run. That was that. Where are we? Monday. So obviously, as you'd expect, Saturday and Sunday, I was in a lot of pain. Having said, I don't really feel pain when I go to the gym anymore. Yeah. Muscle ache, my arms were aching, my chest was aching. I thought I was having a heart attack last night. So yeah, I'm going to start doing more variety in the gym, more different weights. I'm going to keep that running up. Weighed myself at the beginning of last week. I've lost 5. Had lost 5 pounds between then and the last time I weighed myself, which I don't know when that was, but that was good going. I was happy about that. So I'm up to like 1.5 stone now since I've been on the losing weight train. It's not going as quick as I'd like, but then every now and then I have these like sizable jumps, which sort of remotivate, I think is is the thing. So yeah, sorry, I haven't closed the curtains and I've just turned and seen the moon. It's got that sort of, it's like a half moon, it's got a load of cloud across it. Proper spooky werewolf kind of situation. But yeah, that's cool. So that is actually it. I'm not going to ramble about a load of moon-based nonsense. That is that. Supposedly going to the gym. I brought my gym stuff out of the other room. Feeling a little bit groggy. The illness is trying to get me, as it was this time last week. I don't know what that means, but fingers crossed it doesn't get me, and I can keep going, doing gym stuff and doing all the other good stuff. Until next week, I will say bye, and I'll see you then. Bye. There you go. What do you think of that? Another one in the bag. Another week gone. Another podcast done. YouTube watchers, make sure YouTube subscribers like, share, comment, all that good stuff. Everybody jump over to the Cookiecast.com. Check us out over there. See what we've got going on. Send us some social media love or even an email. So until next week, I'm going to say bye. I'll see you then. Bye.